Yes, family, blessed love. Give thanks for your presence with us. You don't know, give thanks to the life giver and the keeper of life, Emperor Haile Selassie I. We definitely welcome you into the tiger's nest. The Honorable Priest Isaac here with you. What a joy. We have a wonderful sit down for you tonight. I know many of you have been waiting on this one. Tonight we're going to be talking about Rastafari and the Bible and how should Rastafari, communicate with the Bible. What relationship should Rastafari as a people, as the movement, have with the Bible? Personally, I'm not going to be answering that tonight. I'm going to leave that to our visitor, who should be joining us in a few moments. This is the brother Mosiah Heru, and he'll be joining us out of the island of Ianola, also referred to as St. Lucia, and we will be talking about all things Rastafari and Rastafari moving on, futuristically speaking, especially when it comes to philosophy and theology and all of these different things. So when he comes in, we're going to definitely open the floor for him. We're going to engage, of course, into some question and answering and see exactly where we take it from there. But I have a grand announcement, family. I'm sure by now many of you would have already heard that we are starting a brand new program. Yes, and I know many of you have been waiting for this. Instead of doing the, sporadic, I would say, online lectures, every Sunday we're going to be gathering. I know a lot of you will be very happy for this. Every Sunday we will be gathering in the temple, the Tigers Temple. This is every Sunday evening at 8 p.m. Eastern Caribbean time, which at this time is Eastern Standard Time. We will be coming to you. It will be an online presentation, a webinar type presentation, but it's not always going to be lectures. We're going to have lectures by myself, of course. I am the main lecturer here, but we're going to have other ones who will come and lecture to you. We're going to have interviews similar to what we're doing tonight, but this will be on the platform of YouTube. But we're going to have other interviews that won't be on YouTube, not even necessarily on Radio Anu, but of course, as I said, in the Tigers Temple. And we're going to have debates and question and answers. Every Sunday we're doing this, family. We're putting a lot into this to give you the best knowledge, the best scholarships. And listen to this, it's always interactive. So not only we're going to have question and answers, you yourself being in the audience, you can, comment and even add to what we are reasoning on. It's definitely going to be all-inclusive, family. This is something that everybody's going to love. And listen to this, it's only $10 to enter into the Tigers temple, going to say Tiger's Nest, but it's still the Tiger's Nest, for sure. Only $10 before the date, or $20 on the very date, or even better yet, you can get a whole monthly package, a whole monthly pass for only $25. This is every Sunday we're going to be here doing this, every single Sunday. So when you contribute, and this is not no payment, this is a contribution. So when you make your contribution, you get your link for that specific Sunday, and you come on in 8 p.m. You're in the room with all of us, whether it's 10 of us, 20 of us, or 100 of us, we're there. I will make my presentation, our guest lecturer will make their presentation, or our guests will have their conversation on the specific topic or their debate, whatever it is. It's the Tigers Temple, so it's time for us to get accustomed to the Tigers Temple now. This is the university where we're coming in and we visualize each other and we reason on the topics, question and answer, and put forward what you have to put forward. Now, this Sunday, we are going to begin. This, of course, is the what do you call, pilot project as such, the first out of the gate. And we will be talking about how to identify your sign. Listen to me good. I'm talking about what people call zodiac signs. How to identify your signs, not just your sign. A lot of us think we have one side. Oh, I'm a Leo. Yeah? How you know that? Well, that's what the newspaper said. Okay. All right. So where was the moon when you were born? I'm not sure. Okay. You could be something else. What about the planets? What about, so definitely, family, you want to be a part of that. I am going to show you I am going to show you how to accurately understand and read what sign in the constellations governs you. So this is not no astrology. In fact, it's astrology versus astronomy. I think I've done enough program to show you that astrology is very shaky. We're dealing with African ancient astronomy, which has what people call, certain aspects of astrology, not the peekaboo spooky stuff, but you must understand the planets and the constellation, the moon, the sun, they all have a value. You know, they do have certain frequencies that they do release to those of us who were conceived and who were born under their sign, not just born, you know. A lot of us check for the sign and where the sun was when we were born. So where was the sun when you were conceived? Boy, I can't remember that one. I'm sure you can't. Yeah, but somebody should remember that. Somebody should at least keep record of it. So when you come, you could say, they could tell you, hey, you know when you were really created, and they could at least give you a little rundown, maybe not the full details, but give you a little rundown and when you really sparked into creation. You should know that day. You should know where the sun was at that time and where the moon was at that time. So we're going to get into all of that, you know, family, and where the planets were at that time. So it's not just about, well, according to the newspaper, I was born on February the 19th or whatever. So that means I'm Aquarius or Pisces or whatever the case is. No, it's deeper than that. It's understanding the astronomical clock. So family, as I said, Tiger's Temple. This will be our first edition of the Tiger's Temple. No, it will not be on YouTube. No, it will not be on radio unless we decide to put the audio on it after the broadcast, you understand? So to get in the Tiger's Temple, you have to contact us. To get in the Tiger's Temple, you have to email us. You have to WhatsApp us and let us know that you'd like to be in the Tiger's Temple this Sunday. As I said, it's only $10 contribution. We just ask for a contribution and it's only $10. But if you are checking in on the very day, well, it's $20. But hear this, if you want to take a monthly package, well, it's only $25, and that gets you in each and every Sunday into the Tiger's Temple. So we will be showing you which constellation governs you as it relates to when you were born. We will be showing you which constellation governs you specifically, if you know, as it relates to when you were conceived. And then that's another thing, depending on when you were born, it's easy to have a good idea of when you were conceived if there was no one to really tell you all of that information. So we're going to have a wonderful time, family, this Sunday. And again, it's every Sunday. This is a brand new addition to the whole Tiger's Nest philosophy that we're bringing to you, the whole Tiger's Nest arsenal that we have for you. And this is the Tiger's Temple. So call us, WhatsApp us, email us, and let us know that you like to be in the temple this Sunday. That's all you have to say. Hey, I want to be in the temple this Sunday. And of course, we'll definitely make room for you in the temple this Sunday. In fact, you know how it is. As I said, if you are coming in the very, very day, the contribution is $20, but you can get a full month, family, a full month pass. And that is only $25. That's a serious vibration. So come on in, man. Let us interact. Let us speak face to face. We're not on stage entertaining nobody. Those who are serious about the knowledge come true. Bring your information as well. Make your contribution. Ask your questions. You know what I'm saying? And definitely you may find yourself under rostrum one of these days in the Tiger's Temple, because we will be definitely interviewing some big people, some big names, I would say. Yeah, some big names, big people. And also we'll be definitely going through a lot of different conversations and debates on key subjects. And when we say debate, we ain't talking about no gladiator business. And I want to be clear, because a lot of people are afraid when they hear debate. Listen, Your brother ain't following no one. I've been debating for at least 20 years. It's enough debates I don't do. Proper scholarly, well-judged debate. I don't know what people be doing now with the gladiator, WrestleMania, cage match business. But I'm talking about deciphering knowledge properly in a civilized environment. So look forward to all of that, family. I'm really hoping that you become a part of the Tigers Temple team, and make sure you're with us every Sunday and make sure we keep the vibes up full. So remember, this Sunday, I'll be showing you how to read your sign, how to know your sign, how to understand your sign. That's very, very important. And then for sure, as I said, we'll be talking about astronomy versus astrology. Very, very important. All right, family. As I said, we will be having Brother Wasir with us, Wasir Heru. He'll be coming in a few moments there. So let me just show you something before he comes in. Blessed my family, do you have your copy of the True Biblical Land of Israel? No? Well, visit our website, priestisaacinstitute.com, and order your copy today. The True Biblical Land of Israel, originally a theological paper, proves to the reader that the land of Israel, according to the biblical geographic description, is Africa plus Arabia. Most definitely a must-read for all. And while you are at it, our other books, namely The Heavens Declare the Glory, Rastafari and the Cosmos, as well as Anu, Ancient and Modern Revisited, are definitely of interest to all. Each book goes for only $20, but when you order the three together, you get them for only $50. So visit our website, priestisaacinstitute.com, or email us today, priestisaacinstitute@gmail.com. Blessed reading. Give thanks. Yes, family, once again, give thanks for still being with us. Asante Sana. And of course, as I promised you, we have a wonderful visitor with us this evening. As I said, one brother was Heru Ma'at, joining us from St. Lucia, Ayanola in the Caribbean, within the realms of Rastafari. And he's officially the founder, one of the chief founders of the White Lotus Temple, which is a study group. Many of you would have maybe heard about such, and definitely dealing with the whole aspect of our ancient Afrocentricity, of which the brethren is here to expound on some of that this evening. As I told you, audience, we want to speak about Rastafari specifically, and looking at it very futuristic and going forward as such. And I wanted the good brother to dialogue with I, but more so him, but we want to speak about the Bible and Rastafari relationship with the Bible, whether it be past, present, and in the future, and exactly how we are to, take it in. So before I even go anymore, let me say blessed love and hotep to the good brother Wasir Heru Ma'at. My Lord, give thanks for being with us this evening.
Hetepu, Uncle Jasinem. Yeah, greetings, family. Yeah, my name is, as he said, Wasir Heru Ma'at. I'm from St. Lucia, and I'm the founder of the White Lotus Temple, and I wrote the journals Wohem Masu. So far, it's just two of them. We're hoping to continue the publication. But going into our African history, beyond the invasions, we're looking at pristine African thought. So we're going into a lot of African literature, the African sages like Amenemope or Ptah Hotep, Kagemni. So we try to get that information out there because the youth right now, all the youth can talk about is opening the third eye and the chakras, you know. But that philosophy, that Eastern philosophy, more it's also individualistic, you know. It doesn't ground you in a community orientation, you know, farming and looking out for your brother. It more has to do with you opening chakras and things like that. So try and guide them into the first thing, that's loyalty to your brother, loyalty to your people. So that's where history plays a very important role. So history, I try to ground them in history, ground them in philosophical thought. We read a lot of thinkers, African authors, not just historical books on historicity, but books also on stories, fiction, placed in historical settings, you know, like Wole Soyinka, Chinua Achebe, are my favorite, Aikwe Ama, you know. So we try to give them the African sense, because the African sense is catering for what you can see and what you cannot see, you know, the duality of our existence. And since what you cannot see is the land of causation, then we have to deal with the land of cause and not the, the after effects, dealing with the kernel and not just the husk of just our survival. You know, so we try and ground them in African thinking and African worldview. And as you said, the Bible, which of course the Caribbean people love a lot, you know, because it was what they got from slavery in a time of disorientation and forgetfulness. That's all they had. They had the King James Version, the Bible, and they also had a British monarch as well. So there they were taken away from their continent, their identity, and they were given a new identity. They were called British subjects. They were part of the British Empire. And then, of course, after independence, they were no longer British. They now had to get another identity. And that identity, what we call culture, is grounded in our deepest despair. It's grounded in our deepest degradation, and that's slavery. Whereas your culture is supposed to be your greatest feats of history, which you try to model yourself after, you know. So being that the Bible is so loved by African people, and we're not talking about the esoteric, we're talking about the exoteric, that there's another history apart from world history, you know? And we try to replace that fake history, or I should say mythic history, with actual history. And so the people, well, it was the time of belief. It was the time of belief. And in the time of belief, what is used to control the people? What can be used? The only thing that would destroy belief is knowledge. So what was used was fear. And the Bible is based on that fear. And here comes knowledge now with internet and everything. So knowledge will destroy fear. Now how bold the world has become with the knowledge and no fear. So this community, this age, that the age of knowledge, of I know, it's going to be hell on earth, because people no longer have boundaries that were held in check by fear.
Knowledge now.
Yeah.
Let me sorry to cut you there. Since you okay done start, you've gone deep there already. I even certain things you said earlier, I wanted to ask you something, and I said, look, this may go outside of the subject area.
Yeah.
Because you know, I just want the audience to understand, you know, especially when you made your introduction. I'm actually seeing the depths of where you're carrying your Afrocentricity, because a lot of us, even though we speak of consciousness, you know, even as you spoke of authors like Showenke and this one, I think he won a Nobel Peace Prize already, isn't it?
Yes.
Literature. Showenka, give that officially, yeah. That's from Nigeria.
Yes.
Nigeria, right? And you also, when you were speaking about the third eye vibration, sometime I want you to go a bit deeper into that, because I know you do yoga too.
Yeah.
Right. So I would believe you incorporate all of that, but I mean, maybe a listener may not fully understand what you're saying. You're saying that it's not just that alone, that could be somewhat self-serving. But I assume you're saying we're looking at a holistic sort of view. Yes, but still though, I want to stick on this topic here. Now, you know what I'm going to bring to you, as I showed you even prior. You know, as Rastafari, since we're dealing with Rastafari, and it's not just me and you speaking here. Now, no matter what we may come with, especially when it comes to the Bible and King James and slavery, whatever, most Rastafari are going to hold firm to the emperor's word or the interpretation of the emperor's word. So I'm going to read just this short little excerpt here. I know you know it well, and I would like you to take it from there. Just quickly. It says here, we in Ethiopia have one of the oldest versions of the Bible. But however old the version may be, in whatever language it might be written, the word remains one and the same. It transcends boundaries of empires and all conception of race. It is eternal. No doubt you remember reading in the Acts of the Apostles how Philip baptized the Ethiopian official. He is the first Ethiopian on record to have followed Christ. And from that day onwards, the word of God has continued to grow in the hearts of Ethiopians. And I might say, pardon me, for myself, that from early childhood, I was taught to appreciate the Bible, and my love for it increases with the passage of time. All through my troubles, I have found it a cause of infinite comfort. Then he goes on to say, come unto me, all ye that labor, all ye that labor and are heavy laden, and I will give you rest. Who can resist an invitation so full of compassion? Because of the personal experience in the goodness of the Bible, I was resolved that all my countrymen should also share its great blessing, and that by reading the Bible, they should find truth for themselves. Therefore, I caused a new translation to be made from our ancient language into the language which the old and young understood and spoke. Now he says here, because see all what I read there, most ones will tell you His Majesty say Ethiopia have one of the oldest versions of the Bible, or His Majesty say, for my part, I glory in the Bible. Here, this last paragraph here. Today, man sees all his hopes and aspirations crumbling before him. He is perplexed and knows not whether he is drifting or whether he is drifting yet. But he must realize, and these are some key words here, he must realize that the Bible is his refuge and the rallying point of all humanity. In it, man will find solution for his present difficulties and guidance for his future action. And unless he accepts with clear conscience the Bible and its great message, hear this one here, he cannot hope salvation. For my part, I glory in the Bible. Now, what I would ask, and let me just come out straight and say, even a lot of what you said earlier, listening to the conversation, you're totally correct. I totally agree with what you're saying. But now, as a Rastafari, how do we balance what was said there and what we would consider the revelation of the Bible? I don't mean the book of Revelation, but understanding its origin, where it was plagiarized from, you know, and especially how it's used wrong in them times. What would you be your outlook of that?
Okay. At the very foundation of that comes an idea. An idea that His Imperial Majesty had the knowledge of all other religions and chose Christianity. So I think we have put a lot on the shoulders of His Majesty. And at the same time, we add, simultaneously, we take away. Maybe unknowingly. At the same time, we give Him supreme knowledge of everything, what we call omniscience. Simultaneously, we take away courage. We take away endurance. Take away faith. So the idea that because His Majesty was a faithful Christian, that we should continue, is only to say that because His Majesty says something, he says, spirituality is not theology or ideology. Spirituality connects you to the universe, each other, your environment. So we should not, because I mean, he was born in a Christian empire. To sit upon the throne, he had to be a Christian king. So what would we expect? We would expect him to be the unraveler of mysteries. Mysteries, I'm sure he knew because he was an avid reader. And he said, read voraciously. And I've also read that he was initiated in the pyramid of Unas, of the fifth dynasty.
Okay. Okay.
So
come across that one there.
Yeah. So in Africa, there are many underground systems of initiation and secret societies. Very old ones that had to go underground. And His Majesty, I'm sure, was a part of these societies. So his knowledge of, because at the same time he was a Christian, of course, he was given medals to African researchers like Leo Hansberry, I think J. Rogers. So
Rogers.
he was also keeping up with the re-Africanization of African people because our history was stolen and we were borrowing the European worldview. So right now, to go back to our original worldview requires reading and research, and then you can be able to tap into that when we speak of the Akashic records and all these things. Then you can tap into these things with knowledge. Now, into the scriptures, the Bible is written on two levels. First level is the corporal level, what we call the exoteric level. Then there's the esoteric level of scripture. The entire book has to do with you and what's this battle that rages on with forever until you go back to into the womb of the universe. And this is what the Bible is really about. You know? And it's using, like Shakespeare and ancient authors, they use some history or historical figures to give a message. And this because Plato and Socrates and all these persons had influence into the thinking of the Bible, into the different ideas of the Bible, you know. And they, of course, got their information from who we call the ancient Egyptians or the Kemetic, you know, who got their information from deeper Africa, you know, like places like the Congo, you know, South Africa. Yeah. So if we are to really keep on the Bible, then there are certain things we have to accept. We have to accept patriarchy. We have to accept that depersonalization, that you cannot see yourself into the Bible because of its incredibility. You know, because you're forced to take it as historicity. So what replaced the reasoning and the synchronization of the universe was persons claiming divine revelation. And so incredible myths, you know, incredible historical renderings, they were bestowed on people and they wouldn't accept it. So violence had to be used to get people to accept the Bible. Because Christianity, although it started in Africa, it started on the fringes of Africa. Apart from Alexandria, Ethiopia, because of the trade routes. Apart from these places, which were the highest of civilizations at that time. Because of that, you see Christianity there. But when you go into Africa, there's no sign of Christianity. Origen, Tertullian, St. Augustine, Cyprian, these forefathers, these pillars of Christianity, were all Africans. And that came from the Ptolemies. Because the Ptolemies had the Jews, because the Jews, they were the Egyptians and they were the Macedonians. And they made that distinction because the Egyptians were chased out of Alexandria. And the Jews were also called Macedonians. And it was...
So Alexander is a Jew?
Alexander? Alexander?
Yeah,
No.
Alexander. Oh.
Alexander was a Greek.
Right. Well, they say he was born in Macedonia. True, I hear you saying the Macedonians.
Yeah, Macedonians. Yeah,
doing some maths.
Yeah. So they were called Macedonians as a kind of elitist people among the Egyptians.
Right.
And the Jews inherited, they gave them this nice piece of land by the sea, you know, and freed some of them from captivity.
Yeah.
Those either through war or purchase were freed from captivity. You know, and then you see a lot of the laws we live by today coming from this time. Purchase and selling of land and things like that all happened in Kemet. You know? So the Western world is actually following the crumblings of a great civilization. You know? And in the book by, what's his name? Count Volney, Ruins of Empires.
Empire, yeah, man.
Yes. That's a very deep, penetrating book. He was a very brilliant. You know, we can say what we want about the Europeans.
One of them first books that came across.
Brilliant.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
He was banned in the United States of America.
Mm.
Yeah. Count Volney, I have his book here. And he states that how they treat the people that give them civics, art, music, mathematics, and today we treat them as our servants, our slaves. You know, but this book is a nice book, especially the part when they come together, all the leaders of the denominations and the churches come together. And then there's this one special sect, and they deal with synchronization. And is they who said that to get everyone on the same wavelength, you deal with the senses.
Mm.
Going into abstract knowledge will make you lose a lot of people.
Mm.
So the sacred science was always held for the esoteric, a few, you know, who could understand and manage and live up to the expectations of the knowledge. Now, this is the whole orientation of Rastafari. I have this book by the Culture, History, and Universal Spread of Rastafari, 2 essays by E.S.P. McPherson.
Astrology. Yeah, man.
Now, in this book, he talks about the Haolites. And he says that, let me see if I can read a little.
Take your time. Yes, family, we have the brother Mosiah Heru Ma'at with us. And we are speaking of Rastafari going forward. And we're penetrating on the scriptures that most have become accustomed to call the Bible. Yes, brother.
Okay. The Haolites' doctrines were a kumina, cosmologically based one. Though it continued in pureness, this Central African Congolese religion, ancestral worship, infused aspects of a reinterpreted Euro-Western Orthodox Christianity. This faith was distinctively being authentic, however, in its theistic foundation. His Majesty Haile Selassie, King Rastafari is the Almighty. This specific basis of the Rastafari doctrine and the way of worship will be further discussed when dealing with the rites, sacralization, symbols, and acts. So yeah, so this book, it talks also about Hebert, who brought back African Freemasonry to Jamaica, coming from Costa Rica as president of a UNIA chapter. Let me see here.
Hebert, Dunkley.
Yes, there it is. This is a picture of him wearing the one glove. Wearing the one glove and the regalia. And many say he was the mentor or teacher for the Honorable Prince Edward Emmanuel Charles.
I've heard of that. I heard one say that's where the robe and turban come from. I've heard that recently.
Yeah.
Even that one glove thing that you just highlighted there, because remember King Emmanuel got a lot of shake up by ones because of greeting the emperor with the glove.
Yeah, yeah.
So you can see the link. Yeah, I'll go through.
Okay. Along with Brother Howell and the Howellites came and other gatherings of the lost fragments of the atomic core of our divine inheritage that flowed from the Nile, Ethiopia. Brother Joseph Nathaniel Hibbert, the former president of a chapter of the UNIA in Costa Rica, returned home in 1932 to Benoit, Portland. He came home preaching His Majesty Haile Selassie as the Almighty God. He introduced African Freemasonry in Jamaica, thus overthrowing the European form of Freemasonry that had made the original African Ethiopian Freemasonry recede to mere witchcraft practices and the social clique of elites. You know, and then he says his Ethiopian Mystic Masons organization, his association with the newly formed local of the Ethiopian World Federation Incorporated, which he oriented into a Masonic movement in the main 10, and his latter led African Descendants United Association and his liturgical practices throughout. But it says there afterwards that the Youth Black Faith, I think I have it in my journal. I wrote a chapter on Rastafari in my journal. And it started off talking all the way going back to General Taki in the 1760 revolt, you know, to Alexander Bedward, Leonard Percival Howell. So it says here that the first announcer of the Rastafari said faith was Brother Leonard Percival Howell, which he rightly dubbed international salvation, a term which goes directly against the notion of individual salvation preached by the Abrahamic faiths. In this speech in 1933, he stated, "What is needed today is international salvation, not individual salvation. God never intended individual salvation. International salvation is what is needed for the people today." So clearly from the outset, we can see the communal reality of the intentions of the so-called First Rasta. Here we see that Pan-Africanism was definitely in the foundation of the movement. From his early army and sea life occupations, which took Brother Howell to Africa, America, and as far as Japan, Brother Howell was ignited by the coronation of Emperor Haile Selassie of Ethiopia on November 2nd and 10th, 1930. The first Rastafari community was set up in 1932 and was named the Ethiopian Salvation Union. Later in 1939, it was renamed the Ethiopian Salvation Benevolent Society and then the Ethiopian Salvation Society. The Howellites, as they were called, preached an end to the whole colonial system led by King George V and Queen Victoria, declaring His Imperial Majesty Rastafari to be the Almighty. The Howellite doctrines was a Kumina one. Okay, I think I read that already. Yeah. And it also say along with Brother Howell, yeah, Nathaniel Hibbert, I read that. Okay, in Costa Rica, Brother Howell was president of the local 81 branch of the Universal Negro Improvement Association, and thus had seen and shared in the actualization of the Honorable Priest Marcus Mosiah Garvey model of Black Church as epitomized by the African Orthodox Church. So yeah, this is just a piece of my journal. Of course, Marcus Garvey came from the Liberty League. The Liberty League, I think the leader of the Liberty League was Hubert Harrison. But Hubert Harrison was very much against Christianity. Yeah, so the first founders of the UNIA were members from that group, the Liberty League by Hubert Harrison, who was considered a genius in Harlem at that time, you know. So in the biblical expression, we have to realize that there are two aspects of it. There is the esoteric aspect and the exoteric aspect. The exoteric aspect would tell you that they were Israelites as slaves in ancient Egypt. And when we know that through the records, there is no evidence of that whatsoever, you know. So certain things you just have to let go of and to embrace the new information that's coming in. It's just that we are afraid of the reading that it entails.
Oh, well, let me ask. Okay, give thanks for that now. And I'm glad I'm seeing it from how you're putting it forward. So you talk about the esoteric and the exoteric, you could say the spiritual, you could say spiritual and the literal physical. Now, and returning to the words of His Majesty, what did I do in the book? Now, His Majesty words obviously strong, and we're having a scholarly discussion here now. You know, we definitely, even though with no disrespect to no one, even though I know there are listeners that has emotional thoughts towards this subject. No, we're dealing with this on a real scholarly level. We haven't even started to speak about the origin of the Bible and where it really sprang out of. But even before we go there, and I'm feeding off of your words, you started by saying, at least after I read the speech, you started by saying, the Bible really represents us. Now, paraphrase anyway. So if I'm wrong, please don't feel free to correct me. But I get the impression you say it's speaking about the inner man. So all the cosmic stories that are inside of it, if we could take the time and look within yourself, you'd be able to pinpoint all of these happenings. Okay, fair enough. So how are we supposed to approach it now? Is it something we should put away? Or because the impression I'm getting is that, hey, this can be used for good, you know, but it's just that the Sunday school teacher, he is the one that turned us, you know, down the wrong path, and the preachers, etc. Because some people will tell you, hey, the Bible ain't got nothing to do with Christianity. Well, obviously that can't be true because Christianity is basically the main book for Christianity. But ones would argue that Christianity hold on to these ancient manuscripts as their own. So what I'm saying now, since you have highlighted that it is, I would assume, more so an esoteric book than a literal book. For example, in our African tradition, to me, understanding our African tradition, like Anansi then, just when was it? We had oh yeah, I was on a show last night and I was showing the audience that the Anansi's web that covers the globe represents the grid, the Earth's grid. That's what it represents. Now, we don't believe Anansi, a spider, went and covered the whole world with a web. But now, if for some reason a generation comes along where they are somehow interpreting this as if this spider covered the whole world with the web, is it that we try to set them straight instead of putting the whole Anansi story away when there is heavy value in it? That's a question. And also too, before you answer that, interestingly, you mentioned what's the name of the Kemetic king? Amen Hope. And it just this evening I was doing a program on Radio Anu showing the relationship between Solomon's writings in the Proverbs and his writing, and I was showing that his writings are older. So how do we reconcile that, you know? And before, let me just show this. Now, see, like I dropped that. Now that's a fact. Nobody can run from that. That you have two similar writings and one is older than the other. That's just straight off. But then now, that's knowledge. But then the understanding kick in. Now, one person will tell you, well, Solomon plagiarized the Egyptian king, Amen Hope. I always just twist my tongue. Plagiarized his writings. Then the next person will tell you, no, man, he is the real Solomon. This Solomon they tell you about is a make-up story about him. And then someone else will find some other way to rationalize the fact that we have two similar writings. One is older than the other. Now, in your answer, wrap all of that up for me. I know you can do it. Yes, sir.
Well, The thing about the Bible is that it comes from a different cultural dynamic.
Okay.
It comes from the culture of the sand and the culture of the ice, you know? So these people believed in a lot of destruction. They were not settlers. They were raiders and robbers, you know? So the Bible has a different cultural perspective when it comes to women. It has a different cultural perspective when it comes to relationships, when it comes to love. A lot of it, when you go into it, for God to ask of a man to sacrifice his child, this is nothing you'll find in Africa, you know? So it has a different sentiment. A lot of what we have or a few things we have in the Bible, you can find them in history. There are persons you can find as historical figures, certain happenings, but the plot of the Bible is mythic, and it follows all the great books which were mythic, you know. But we have also our sages. Here's a saying: if you see a person, your senior, outside, walk behind him or her respectfully. Give also a hand to elders filled with beer, and respect them as their children would. The strong arm is not weakened by being uncovered, and the back is not broken by bending it in respect. Better is a poor person who speaks pleasant words than a rich person whose words are as harsh and dry as straw. A pilot who sees far ahead will not wreck the ship on rocks. This is our ancient writings here. This one is by Amenemope, you know? So we don't have to keep on quoting Isaiah.
Is that the oldest book?
The oldest book known to us is what we see in the Pyramid of Unas.
Not the oldest writings, no. Literal.
Oh, book. Well, yeah, the oldest book would be considered the teachings of Ptahhotep.
That's it. Yes.
Ptahhotep. But this is Amenemope.
Yes.
So we have our ancient sages, you know. We have them. So all it needs is to research, and we can make our chance with their words, you know, because they write in the words, what we call the words of God, the divine words, the Medu Nature. This was for the upcoming generations to read, you know, because they were connected to the ancestors. Most of their buildings had to do with their funerary practices. So these people were very connected to the unseen. And African culture on the whole is very abstract. Europe did not have abstract thinking maybe around until the Renaissance with Van Gogh and all these painters. Even Picasso stole his paintings from Africa, from the African masks, you know? So we have abstract thought. And that's why, give us anything. They could have given us the Quran.
Yeah, man.
And we would have changed it around.
I am positive.
Give it the flavor.
And we would have seen the King of Kings in it too. All the things that we would still find it there.
Yes, because
exactly.
His Majesty was at a time when Black people were still in bondage, you know, and he was a great African king who said all the right things.
A hero.
You know, and his contribution to the revolutionary struggle on the continent, a lot of us don't speak about it, you know, but how he aided all the different revolutions going on in Africa while they were being opposed by South Africa, Rhodesia, all these powerhouses, because those were and still are the powerhouses in Africa, South Africa. So when we learn more of our African history and our African ancient literature, then we go beyond the materialism of European conception of reality. So we go deeper into what we call immaterial. And this is the power of our African myths, because it's basically psychology.
Yes, it is.
And you cannot get that from the Bible. The Bible would have you believing that there's someone up there sprinkling blessings on certain people. If you worship on a certain day, he sprinkles some blessings on you. But we know that's not how it works. An evil man can still have a beautiful garden. And you, a righteous man, sometimes your garden is pushing nothing.
Yeah, you just look at kind of hard way.
You know what I'm saying?
Right. But let me ask again now, because I'm taking it in. So, okay. And I'm still working with your understanding when you speak of there are certain meanings within that. Now you mentioned Abraham sacrificing his son. No, I could agree with that. I mean, there's some other things in there, definitely. But they say Apis the bull, Ra as the bull, eats the kidneys of the king. But I mean, we know all of this is highly symbolic again. But couldn't it be that a lot of what we are taking, again, literally, even from the biblical perspective, could be highly symbolic? Okay, for example, a person might say, listen, I'm not into too much of them Bible thing there. I don't believe no man can get swallowed by a fish. I mean, of course. But then again, we as the more, I don't want to sound, we as the more researched ones that look into things deeper. Are we not looking at the science of what the fish may mean and the whole concept of being inside of the belly of the beast? Because if we were going into an area where it's a dungeon or prison or even to some place like what we would call the pits of hell then, and we refer to it as going into the belly of the beast. And by not using words or letters, we drew it. We would draw it in a way that we were actually going into some sort of beast to express it. So where is the line now then? Now I understand what you're saying about the European aspect of it and influence. And I think since you mentioned that, let's get a little more into the origin of it. So what's the reality? I'm not asking a couple questions, but you can frame it when you get it. What's the reality of the 70 or 72 that they say came from the Levant to translate the supposed Torah into the Septuagint? Because basically that's, if history is correct, that is where it starts. There's more books the king of it. So if history is correct, that is where it started. Anyone that follows me know that I'm of the strong opinion. I believe in that history. That's 285 BC. And what's his name? Ptolemy, however you pronounce it, the king of so-called Egypt at the time. And he commissioned these 72 to write the Septuagint, or to translate it from a Torah that was somewhere in the middle of the room on a table. But the point is that Torah that was in the middle of the room on the table, we can't find it. And it is well known that the same building that they translated this into the Septuagint was filled with ancient Kemetic scrolls, which many of the stories in the same Septuagint, which became the Old Testament of the Bible, very, very similar to a lot of these Kemetic scrolls. So I mean, basically just putting the maths together. So is it true from your study that these individuals that translated, number one, were of African or melanated origin? And because we know for sure if that is the case, we know for sure that the Europeans have dabbled in what we call the Bible. But when did they actually get into it? When did it, and before that, would you consider it of a strong African origin, even though Ptolemy commissioned it? Give thanks. Ooh, that's a lot, eh? But I need to give you time to find what they're looking for.
Well, you see, I have a book here. It's called, this was given to me by a Masonic brother, one of my teachers. And it's called The History of Egypt, from 330 BCE to the present time. It's written by Gaston Maspero.
Yeah, man, of course.
Yeah, and in this book, now, I must say Gaspero, of course, like many of them, was a racist. And he was also, I would say, a Christian. So, you know, we read books with a keen eye. Now, in this, he speaks about...
I think he too was Masonic, eh?
Yes. So he, let me see. I'm trying to get the place where they speak of, I think it was Philadelphus, ordering the Jews to write down their stories.
Yes, yes.
Because there were many of them living who knew Greek, and they wanted them to read their history.
And you see, while you're looking, you see why I would bring that up again. I think that's a long time ago. If that history is correct, that's the next thing altogether. But what I'm saying is that because the Jews, what we call Jews today, and I'm not, I would assume that in that time, whoever were Jews, they would have been of a more darker complexion. I'm sure you know the relief of the Israelites, I think, coming from Nineveh or something with the locks. I'm sure you know that relief there, and the beard. And they're obviously of a melanated African origin. You know, when I say African, you know, remember, especially at that time, going as far as India, Australia, many parts of the earth, there is that phenotype that we refer to as African. So when I say African, it doesn't necessarily confine to the continent. So that's why those coming out of the so-called area, Palestine, the Levant area, coming to translate this book here. And that is very close to Africa. So I'm argue that that is on the tectonic plates, etc. So that's why I brought up the whole reality of them not being European, like Ptolemy.
Okay, I'll read a little bit. I'll read a little bit here. Page 138. The favor shown to the Jews by Ptolemy Soter was not withdrawn by his son. He even bought from his own soldiers and freed from slavery 120,000 men of that nation who were scattered over Egypt. He paid for each out of the royal treasury 120 drachmas, or about $15, to those of his subjects who held them either by right of war or by purchase. In fixing the amount of the ransom, the king would seem to have been guided by his Jewish advisors, as this is exactly equal to 30 shekels, the sum fixed by the Jewish law as the price of a slave. The Jews who lived in Lower Egypt, in the enjoyment of civil and religious liberty, looked upon that country as their home. They had already a Greek translation of either the whole or some part of their sacred writings, which had been made for those whose families had been for so many generations in Egypt that they could not read the language of their forefathers. But they now hoped, by means of the king's friendship and the weight which his wishes must carry with them, to have a Greek translation of the Bible, which should bear the stamp of official authority. Accordingly, to please them, Philadelphus sent Aristeas, a man whose wisdom has gained his friendship, and Andreas, a captain of the guard, both of them Greek Jews. Both of them Greek Jews. With costly gifts to Eleazar, the high priest of Jerusalem, and asked him to employ learned and fit men to make a Greek translation of the Bible for the library at Alexandria. Eleazar, so runs the tradition, named 70 elders to undertake the task, who held their first sittings on the business at the king's dinner table. When Menedemus, the Socratic philosopher, the pupil of Plato, was also present, who had been sent to Philadelphus as ambassador from Euboea. The translators then divided the work amongst themselves, and when each had finished his task, it was laid before a meeting of the 70 and then published by authority. Thus was said to have been made the Greek translation of the Old Testament, which from the number of the translators we now call the Septuagint. But a doubt is thrown upon the whole story by the fables which have been mingled with it to give authenticity to the translation. By this translation, the Bible became known for the first time to the Greek philosophers. We do not indeed hear that they immediately read it or noticed it. We do not find it quoted till after the spread of Christianity. But it had a silent effect on their opinions, which we traced in the new school of Platonists, soon afterwards rising in Alexandria. That was just a little piece. So we can see that, and there's another, with it. Yeah, so there's another part telling you as well that they were also called Macedonians as kind of their right and their nationality. They were called Macedonians, you know, and there was a distinct difference between the native, because the native Kemetiu, or the ancient Egyptians, they were all not allowed to enter Alexandria at the time. There is another book I have.
So who would be so knowledgeable to translate them scrolls into Greek?
It would be the 70 elders. Because remember, Alexandria was a place of learning.
Yes, of course, yes, yes.
That was a place where they had all the knowledge gathered from the known world at the time, you know? And at that time also, the knowledge and the vibrancy of gaining wisdom kind of decreased in Kemet, and it went to Greece.
Yeah.
You know, it went to Greece at that time. But there's a lot of knowledge in this book concerning Carthage, Rome, the relationship with the Macedonians on the throne in Kemet at the time. So, you know, it has good missing links. Yeah. And there's another book also that speaks about the racism in Kemet, the racism also by the Romans, the racism also by the Arabs, the racism by the what we call the Semites, you know. So we have been suffering from racism for a long, long time under all these different religions. You know? So that's something we cannot, because we think that racism is something of recent, but racism was practiced by the Greeks, you know, coming all up to the Christians. So I think we should give the Bible a rest.
I hear you.
I mean, we've been reading it for how many decades now? We've been reading the Bible, centuries. We've been reading the Bible, you know? So, I mean, we have new knowledge there. It's at our fingertips now. And those who have the mental power to get it and share it.
So you don't think there's nothing in there that's of, I know, well, I think you would agree they have good value in it, but you don't think there's anything in there of great value that needs to be understood or needs to be unraveled or something of the sort.
Of course it does.
Okay, well, just asking. Right,
of course
right.
it does. Now, His Majesty honored Sevrapali Radhakrishnan. And if you read Sevrapali Radhakrishnan's work, he speaks about his Hinduism. And he speaks about how religion should not be stagnant, but it should adapt to knowledge, to scientific knowledge. It should adapt. So if you read the Bible, you get 7,000 years. The earth was created 7,000 years ago. Then you have dendrochronology. You count the rings of a tree and you get tens of thousands of years. You know, you get bones of ancient archaic humans, millions of years old, dated by, there's carbon dating, there's amino acid dating, you know, potassium dating, you know, so all this is known. So why should we stay in the decadence of yesterday?
But what about now? Because I remember personally, and I'm only putting this out just so that the reasoning, because there is some serious reasoning and understanding, especially for people. Now, I personally, I know, I can't remember how much it is now, but a good while back, I took the time to like follow the chronology of the book, the Bible, and, you know, add up the time frame, especially, you know, they give you this man lived for 400 years, and then 40 years after this happened, and you add it up. And it is way, you said 7, I know they usually say 6,000 years, but this went into the tens of thousands of years from my edition at that time. I haven't done it, honestly, I haven't sat down and done that for a while. But I remember back in the days when I did that, it passed 6,000 years, early up in the book itself too.
Because the patriarchs, if you take the ages of the patriarchs, they tell you how long they lived.
Right.
You know, and
I try not to overlap too. I had to make sure that I didn't overlap. Yeah, man, I really did it meticulously, as they would say.
That's why they say that Jesus the Christ was 2,000 years ago.
Right.
But really and truly, it was the fish. It was the time of the fishes.
Mm-hmm.
The fishes and the loaves.
Yes.
Pisces and the place of the house of bread.
House of bread, yeah, man. Bethlehem and Pisces, yes.
Constellations opposite to each other. Also, the 4 beasts in the heavens. The 4 beasts in the heavens represents the fixed constellations. Spelling salt. Scorpio, Aquarius, Leo, and Taurus. The salt of the zodiac. The neutral ones of the zodiac, the fixed of the zodiac. You know? So a lot of it has to do with astro-theology.
Of course.
You know? And astro-theology also has to do with your body and what happens within you at times, at seasons. Mm-hmm. And we follow the what we call Ra'atum, the Dikenga of the Congo. Sunrise, maturity, midday, sunset, and rebirth, what we call Kala, Tukala, November, and Musoni. We also call Ra, we call Kepra, Ra, Atum, and Nun. So the cycle of life. You come, you mature, you go, and you're reborn. And that happens for everything in the universe. So all this is African cosmology. You know? So when we go back to that, then we'll find our secure grounding in learning of our ancestors, learning about our struggle, you know, learning about the abstract, because there are codes, because you don't just write myth. Myth must follow a blueprint of the science of synchronicity, whether it is numerology, whether it is biochemistry, you know, it has to follow a certain.
Yes, I feel always there. Yes.
So when you learn that, then you maybe can decode the Bible.
So as if yes, as you said that the different traditions in Africa there, how you see, well, you know, you speak a lot of Kemet, the whole aspect of Kemet, but you know, the different, like the Orisha and whatever different creational story and different voodoo and Opeyan, you see, or the Dogon tradition, the Bozo tradition, because when you said blueprint, because I always consider, although they may appear different, there's obviously some similar thread that runs through them all. So do you advocate African tradition in general, or are you more focused on maybe Kemet because it's what we'll consider the oldest? Maybe not the oldest, but the most refined, because there's before that, eh? Yeah, you can tell me what you say.
Yes, well, I would say the most refined and the most information. And we're, because what we were told in schools, when those who went to universities, arrived at universities, when they asked for their history, they didn't prevent them from getting their history. They told them that there was no history, that Africans never wrote a thing. So says Engels, you know, who taught Marx, and these guys who said, and Hegel, who said that Africa has no history. You know? Now, a lot of the Orishas and and a lot of tradition in Africa is oral tradition. And many of the traditions have been traditions under duress. Traditions of fleeing from enemies, of going to the most barren, rocky swamps to live because of invasions, because of slave catchers. So the dynamics in Africa changed. And a lot of these cultures, these traditions in Africa morphed into survival cultures, survivalist traditions. And when you go to Kemet, you see more, as you said, refined spirituality and more literature. So then you can go through the literature and you can get that more pristine African thought. But still, of course, the Orishas, it's still part of that system that runs all over Africa, where we give characteristics and animals that embody and kind of cement and actualize and animate those cosmic forces, you know, which are invisible, but then we see them so apparent and significant in animals, you know. So we have the totems, you know, we have, because animals were our teachers. These were our first teachers that taught us what to eat, what not to eat, and we followed them. They would guide us to water. And so we know the importance and the magnificence of animals, you know. Exactly. So that's why I returned to Kemet.
Right. And I'm gonna keep it forever doing it, but let me ask you, so how would you place the Sumerians into this whole equation? I'm interested to know the Sumerians and we call them people, yeah, the Akkadians and these one, how you fit them in, because I know over time, okay, like for example, we may say the Indians, like may just say the Indians today, but as far as maybe the 1600s, that Black people, literal African people ruling over India. You know, I have all of that here. I can pull it up. So I guess when you say India, like 200 BC or 200 AD, it couldn't be the India of today. So when we say the people of Sumer, and some people say that they first astronomers, etc. I mean, whatever the case is, do you see that they're the same people as we are what the world referred to as Africans?
Well, there was a time when that whole area were African
Right.
people. But then, of course, slowly we had
This is right.
what we call the cold wind from the north. We have the masses of Europeans coming down, because the first sayings we have written of what we call the Amu, or the Eurasian, because really and truly Europe is not a continent, but it's part of Eurasia. So when these people coming from the cold ice regions came down and started to plunder, if you read about the sea people, I think it was Romesu or Ramses the third or the second that fought these people. Now, these people went down all the way to India and put in what we call the caste system, and started to, because it's the same thing you saw happen in Africa. You know? So it started from since that time of the Aryans, this horde of people coming down, you know, and causing a lot of destruction and destroying civilizations and changing the whole ethnicity, creating different peoples, different identities, you know. So all this happened after a good period of time, you know. But at the beginning, it was all Black people in that area. You know, the time Ethiopia ruled that entire region, there was a time when even going to what's his name, Tahaka. Then you're going even further back to Usamatra, Romesu Ramses. You know, even then you can go back to Chehutimas the third, who they call Tutmosis the third. You know, so a lot of influence coming out of when we started building empire, because we didn't believe in armies before, like on a grand scale. It was only after the Hyksos, then we mounted that offensive, and Tehutimas III took it and conquered as far as going all up, all past the Levant, going all up close to Turkey, you know? So we can learn a lot from what happened. Not all of it is good, but we have to take the jewels, polish it, and see if we can apply it at this time. Because there's a lot of history, not only ancient history, also Caribbean history as well. We can study Haiti. We can study what happened in Haiti, what happened after Christophe, what really happened in that place. You know, that whole mix-up of they created their different identities and different percentages of Blackness. And so we can see what happened, because that's what plagues us in the Caribbean, an identity struggle. We don't even know who we are. You know? So the leaders try to put us in a bubble of paternalism. You know? But it's all just to keep us in that socio-economic, you know, place on our beaches and our hills and our rivers. We love them so much, but still the government uses them to destroy us, bringing in the tourists. And so we are destined to stay back to maintain the beautiful scenery for the Europeans. And so it's a cycle in the Caribbean. So they keep changing governments, but all of them, their hands are tied. You know, their hands are tied. They will not say it, but the debt keeps rising.
Wow.
You know, like nothing is getting better. You know, there's no climax to the living. There's not one day that we won't have to pay water or electricity. You know, so it's just capitalism and a predatory society. Even the government's feeding on their own people. You know, because they know that, I mean, the Caribbean, we have no resources here.
Yeah, man.
Yeah.
Yes, my Lord, give thanks to your wise mind, you know. Your journal, though, before we even seal up, you know, you could tell us a little more about the journal, how ones could get their hands on it if that's possible, and maybe how they could contact you if necessary and get some more understanding on the works that you're doing.
Well, the journal right now is online because I run out of copies, to tell you the truth.
Give thanks.
I run out of copies, so it's online right now. If they want, I can send it. I'll have to reactivate my what we call it, the Patreon, my PayPal.
PayPal.
Reactivate my PayPal account and maybe sell some copies. I don't sell it that expensive, around what I sell it for, like $6 US. You know, because I try not to make things expensive, you know, because I know the people can't afford it and these are hard times. And what I really want to do is share the information. And it's not something, I mean, there's other things I do, I'll make money out of, you know, but the information is very important, especially in these times of such a decay of our societies and communities, and the youths now turn into our own predators.
That's what's going on.
Yeah, that's what's going on right now. And who's to blame? But we are the ones to blame because we stopped beating the drum. We decided on seclusion and segregation than being the shamans and the leaders of the people.
True, man. So what's the website they would check?
Well, I have my page. I have my page on Facebook, the White Lotus Temple.
White Lotus
Temple. Yeah, White Lotus Temple. I haven't posted on there in a while, but I have some nice videos. You know, I have a piece where Leonard Jeffries, I believe, was giving a speech, and he was speaking of when John Henry Clark shook hands with Haile Selassie first. And he said he felt the earth tremble that day. So I have some nice videos on there, you know.
John Henry Clark said that?
Jeffries, Leonard Jeffries.
Jeffries says that Clark said that he trembled.
Like when Clark shook Haile Selassie's hand, Leonard Jeffries, he said he felt the earth tremble.
Okay, I hear you.
Yeah, so that's to show you the respect he also had for his imperial manners.
I hear you. Yes, enough respect. Yes, my Lord. Well, so White Lotus Temple family, White Lotus Temple, definitely.
Yeah, I chose the white, not giving any Eurocentric kind of connotation, but the white has to do with purity, cleanliness, and the lotus, you know, comes from the muddy waters of our current living and existence, and it goes through the different elements of the water, the air, and it opens in the glorious sunlight. So it's also an expression of our destiny.
Give thanks. I know they have the blue lotus too.
Yeah, there's also the blue lotus. Yeah.
Yeah, man. Give thanks. Well, Honorable, give thanks again for such blessings. When you came in, what was the greeting you gave when you came in? I would like you to interpret that.
I said Anku Jasaneb. That means life, health, prosperity and health. You know, he said Duawu means praises, you know, Hotep, peace, satisfactions, blessings, you know. So we say Shemem Hotep, to go in peace.
Shemem Hotep.
Shemem Hotep, go in peace, Uncle Jaslem.
Well, King Shemem Hotep to the eye. Blessings, and I would actually just I will I will allow you to go out. And you don't know the reason again.
Yeah, man. Rastafari.
Yes, family, we definitely give thanks for a very spirited, full reasonment. Give thanks for the good brother with us, just giving us a great strength there. And we're speaking of one Wasir Heru Ma'at, of course, well, we all things Rastafari in the mystics, you know, we definitely was speaking of the whole aspect of the Bible and the importance of the scripture. But obviously the good brother went into some other realms as well, and it was nothing but good. And I hope that we can definitely have a sit down again. And interesting, eh? See how everything is in oneness. The brother come and speak about the tigers, no, the white lotus temple, and just before he come on, we introduced to the family the tigers temple. You know, honestly, I didn't know he was coming with a white lotus temple. So you see, is temple and temple in full effect here. So family, if you are just coming in and you were not here at the beginning of the program, we are introducing a new feature right here specifically in the tiger's nest. And we're talking about specifically the tiger's temple. Every Sunday, we gather at the Tiger's Temple. And this is a new addition, really, to our, expression to the Priest Isaac's Institute of Holistic Knowledge. So just to explain what it is properly, what we are doing every Sunday now at 8 p.m., we're gathering for a totally different session. It's going to be a mixture of lectures given by myself. At times, I would have a guest lecture. I'll be also doing interviews, and we'll be also having debates. It will be question and answer, and it will be always interactive. So this is our in addition to all the other things that you see us doing, in addition to Radio Anu, in addition to the nightly Tiger's Nest, everything is still there, family. In addition to the daily videos, sometimes you get 3-4 videos a day, you know that. In addition to the Chalice Talk, in addition to everything else that we are putting forward specifically, we are saving or preserving Sunday evenings, every Sunday from here until at 8 p.m. we will be having the Tiger's Temple. Now that's not on YouTube. It's not necessarily on the Radio Anu because it's not audio. It's a online webinar atmosphere. So you're going to have to get the link from us so you could come in. The link is not going to be the same every Sunday. Every Sunday, you're going to have to get a different link specifically. So now there's a small contribution that you make to come to the Tiger's Temple. It's a contribution. It's not, I don't call it no admission, only that you're adding to the mission. That's what admission means. You're adding to the mission. But it's only $10. It's a $10 contribution, just so that you understand. Of course, we give thanks that you respect the value of what we're doing. And only if you're paying your contribution on the day that the contribution will be $20. But prior to the very day, the contribution is only $10. And you could also get a monthly pass with a contribution of $25. So just do the math yourself, and you'll definitely see where we're going. But hear this now. This Sunday, we will be going into the whole aspect of how to identify your signs, how to identify your constellations. And I mean constellations. Don't get bottled down in, oh, I'm a Scorpio. Oh, I'm a Libra. How do you know that? Who told you that? The newspaper? So specifically, we're going to have it's basically almost like a workshopping that we'll be having this Sunday. And remember, this Sunday is the 15th of May. This Sunday, the 15th of May. And we're going to be showing you exactly how you identify the constellation that has to do with the day you were born. We're even going to go into the day you were conceived. It's going to be a deep vibration. So come and learn, literally learn, how you understand what constellation relates to you as it relates to the day that you were born. And I'm actually subtitling this, astrology versus astronomy. And keep in mind, the astronomy I'm talking about is the astronomy from Dendara. I'm talking about ancient African astronomy, because you see, astrology doesn't really take into consideration the real mechanics of astronomy. And modern day astronomy doesn't take into consideration the value of respecting the planets and stars and the different objects as they relate to the human beings. They have planets that relate to specific organs in your body, you know, in your goodie. They have specific stars that relates to specific minerals on the earth. You understand? Astronomy don't consider that. Astrology may consider that, but astrology is not considering the astronomical clock properly, which is a very detailed thing. So ancient astronomy basically brings the both together and throw away, you know, that which is not necessary for the understanding. So this Sunday, our first presentation in the Tiger's Temple, you understand, we will be speaking of how to identify your constellations, you understand? And we'll be dealing with ancient astronomy. So make sure you're there early. Make sure you get your link now. Remember, you'll be able to ask questions, you know, live questions. Come and put on your camera and everybody can see you if you want it to be like that. This is going to be a wonderful session. So I'm really looking forward to everybody, every goodie to be in the house this Sunday for our pilot program, our first Tigers Temple edition, you know, within this wonderful vibes that we're going on. So definitely, you know what to do, just contact us, email us, you know, get more information. Priest Isaac Institute at gmail.com. Visit us on priestisaacinstitute.com for sure. And don't leave out Radio Anu, or you can call us or WhatsApp us also and let us know, hey, I would like to be in the Tigers Temple this Sunday. I would like to get my space reserved. I want to ask some questions about the day I was born. I would like to know where I was, and where the sun was, and where this was, and where that was. So you get a better understanding as it relates to what constellation relates to you, you know? So it's not just what the newspaper says, because you were born on the 15th of March or the 16th of March, that you must be Taurus. I mean, of course, depending on the age that we are in, the sun will have some relation to that. But where was the moon? You know, where was the planet Mars? Where was Venus when you were born? How do you understand that? And what does it mean? So make sure you're in the house with us, family. As I said, this Sunday, our first, you know, venture into the Tigers Temple. Looking forward to seeing everyone there. You know, just contact us and reserve your space. Give thanks again to the good brother, man. You know, brother was here, Heru Ma'at, and the knowledge that he brought in, very brilliant, knowledgeable brethren, is obvious, you know, and definitely full with information and understanding of things. We definitely will have to do that again. So give thanks, family, for the love. Give thanks to the life giver and the keeper of life. Holy Emmanuel, Selassie, Jah, Rastafari, blessed love. Blessed my family, do you have your copy of the true biblical land of Israel? No? Well, visit our website, priestisaacinstitute.com, and order your copy today. The True Biblical Land of Israel, originally a theological paper, proves to the reader that the land of Israel, according to the biblical geographic description, is Africa plus Arabia. Most definitely a must-read for all. And while you are at it, our other books, namely The Heavens Declare the Glory, Rastafari and the Cosmos, as well as Anu, Ancient and Modern Revisited, are definitely of interest to all. Each book goes for only $20, but when you order the 3 together, you get them for only $50. So visit our website, priestisaacinstitute.com, or email us today, priestisaacinstitute@gmail.com. Blessed reading.